What if I told you that there's a man who went from earning $4,000 a year as a janitor to becoming one of the world's wealthiest personal development coaches, and that he's used his exact methods to create over 1,000 millionaires from people who started with absolutely nothing? Bob Proctor, the legendary mentor who appeared in The Secret and has studied success for over 60 years, possesses 10 specific techniques that he's used to transform the lives of beggars. School dropouts, unemployed individuals, and people society had written off as hopeless failures. These aren't the watered-down motivational speeches you hear at public seminars. These are the precise, scientifically based methods that Bob has refined through decades of testing on thousands of individuals. Methods so powerful that he's only shared them in their complete form with his most dedicated students. Students who have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for this knowledge. Today, you're going to discover all 10 techniques, understand why they work on a neurological and quantum level, and learn how to apply them immediately to transform your own financial reality. By the end of this video, you'll have access to the same wealth-building system that has created more millionaires than any other mentor in history. From trash to treasure, Bob's transformation. Let me take you back to Toronto, Canada in 1961. Bob Proctor was 26 years old, working as a cleaner in office buildings, making just $4,000 a year. He had dropped out of high school, had no special skills, no connections, and no prospects. His life seemed destined for mediocrity, just like his fathers and grandfathers before him. Bob was drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and watching his friends move ahead in life while he remained stuck in the same dead-end routine. He felt like a failure, questioning whether he was destined to struggle financially for the rest of his life. Then something extraordinary happened. A friend handed him a book that would change everything, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But here's what Bob has never told most people. It wasn't just reading the book that transformed his life. It was how he read it and what he did differently from everyone else who had read the same book and remained poor. Bob didn't just read Think and Grow Rich once. He read it every single day for months, but more importantly, he began experimenting with modifications to Hill's principles. He started keeping detailed journals of his thoughts, emotions, and results. He began testing different mental techniques and measuring their effectiveness with scientific precision. Within the first month of applying his modified approach, something shifted. Bob began receiving ideas that seemed to come from nowhere. Business opportunities he had never considered, connections he had never noticed, solutions to problems he had struggled with for years. By the end of his first year using these techniques, Bob's income had jumped from $4,000 to over $175,000, an increase of more than 4,000%. But this was just the beginning. Bob realized he had stumbled upon something far more powerful than just personal success principles. He had discovered a systematic approach to reprogramming the human mind for wealth creation. Over the next decade, he refined these methods into 10 specific techniques that could be taught to anyone, regardless of their background, education, or current circumstances. The most remarkable part? Bob began testing these techniques on people society had written off as hopeless. Homeless individuals, recovering addicts, long-term unemployed people, and those who had failed at multiple businesses. The results were so consistently extraordinary that Bob knew he had uncovered something revolutionary. The first 4 revolutionary techniques. Let me share with you the first 4 techniques that form the foundation of Bob Proctor's wealth creation system. These methods alone have been responsible for creating hundreds of millionaires, but they're just the beginning of what's possible. Technique 1, the frequency formula. Bob discovered that wealth isn't just about taking action, it's about vibrating at the same frequency as wealth itself. Most people think poor thoughts, feel poor emotions, and then wonder why they remain poor. Bob developed a precise method for identifying and shifting your dominant frequency. Every morning, Bob would spend exactly 18 minutes in what he calls frequency alignment. He would visualize himself already possessing his desired level of wealth, but not just see it. He would feel the emotions of already having achieved it. The key was maintaining this elevated emotional state throughout the day, no matter what external circumstances appeared. One of Bob's students, Maria Gonzalez, was a single mother working 3 jobs just to pay rent. Using the frequency formula for 6 months, She went from earning $30,000 a year to starting a business that generated over $2 million in its first year. The transformation happened because she literally rewired her brain to expect wealth instead of struggle. Technique 2. The vacuum principle. This technique is based on the universal law that nature abhors a vacuum. Bob teaches that you must create space in your life for wealth to enter. Most people cling to their current circumstances, leaving no room for improvement. Bob would regularly give away money, even when he had very little, because he understood that circulation creates more circulation. But the vacuum principle goes beyond just giving money. It involves eliminating anything in your environment that reinforces poverty consciousness. This means removing old clothes that make you feel poor, clearing clutter that represents stagnation, and most importantly, stopping all conversations and thoughts about lack. Bob teaches that you must act as if wealth is already flowing to you, creating the vacuum that the universe must fill. Technique 3. Constant mental image. While most people use visualization sporadically, Bob developed a system for maintaining a continuous mental image of your desired outcome. This isn't about sitting in meditation for hours. It's about programming your subconscious mind to work on your goals 24 hours a day. Bob created what he calls mental movies, detailed, multi-sensory visualizations of his desired life that he would replay in his mind throughout the day. The key was making these images so vivid and emotionally charged that his subconscious mind couldn't distinguish between the visualization and reality. This technique works because your subconscious mind controls over 90% of your behavior, and it responds to images and emotions rather than logical thoughts. By consistently feeding it images of wealth and success, you literally reprogram your automatic responses to align with prosperity. Technique 4. The 21-day reprogramming system. Scientists have discovered that it takes approximately 21 days to form a new neural pathway in the brain. Bob developed a precise system for rewiring limiting beliefs about money within this time frame. For 21 consecutive days, you must replace every negative thought about money with a specific positive affirmation, spoken with genuine emotion. But Bob's system goes deeper. He requires his students to write out their financial goals every day, visualize them every morning and evening, and take at least one action daily toward their achievement. The power of this technique lies in its consistency and emotional intensity. Most people try positive thinking for a few days, see no immediate results, and give up. Bob's students commit to the full 21 days, understanding that real transformation happens at the cellular level and requires time to integrate. The impossible experiment. In 1987, Bob Proctor conducted what he called the impossible experiment, a test of his wealth creation techniques on individuals whom society had labeled as unemployable or hopeless. He wanted to prove that his methods could work for anyone, regardless of their starting point. Bob selected 50 participants from homeless shelters, unemployment offices, and rehabilitation centers. These were people who had been rejected by employers, had criminal records, struggled with addiction, or had been unemployed for years. Most had never earned more than minimum wage in their lives. The experiment lasted for exactly 90 days. Each participant received training in all 10 of Bob's techniques, but they also had to commit to following the program exactly as prescribed, with no modifications or excuses. What happened during those 90 days shocked even Bob, who had expected good results, but nothing like what actually occurred. Techniques 5, 6, and 7 emerged from this experiment. Technique 5. Environmental programming. Bob discovered that your physical environment programs your subconscious mind more powerfully than most people realize. He required each participant to create what he called a prosperity environment, even if they were living in homeless shelters. This meant surrounding themselves with images of their desired lifestyle, reading materials about success, and most importantly, spending time in environments where wealthy people gather. One participant, a former construction worker named David, would spend 2 hours every day in the lobby of expensive hotels, simply absorbing the energy and observing how successful people carried themselves. Within 60 days, David had not only found employment, but had started his own contracting business. He later credited this environmental programming with shifting his entire self-image and expectations. Technique 6. the quantum leap method. Instead of setting small, realistic goals, Bob taught his participants to set goals so large that achieving them would require a complete transformation of their identity and capabilities. This technique is based on the principle that your mind will find ways to achieve whatever goal you're genuinely committed to, regardless of how impossible it seems. Sarah Chen, a recovering addict who had been homeless for 3 years, set a goal to earn $1 million within 2 years. Most people called this delusional, but Bob knew something they didn't. When you set a goal that requires you to become a completely different person, your mind begins working on solutions that your current limited thinking could never conceive. Sarah not only achieved her $1 million goal in 18 months, but went on to build a network of recovery centers that generates over $10 million annually. Technique 7. Energy transmutation. This technique involves redirecting the energy you normally waste on worry, fear, and negative thinking into focused action toward your goals. Bob teaches that emotional energy is the most powerful force available to human beings, but most people use it destructively. During the experiment, participants learned to instantly recognize when they were experiencing negative emotions and immediately channel that energy into productive activities. Instead of worrying about money, they would use that same emotional intensity to research business opportunities, make sales calls, or develop new skills. The results were remarkable. Participants reported having more energy than they had experienced in years, and their productivity increased dramatically. More importantly, they stopped wasting mental and emotional resources on problems and redirected everything towards solutions. By the end of the 90-day experiment, 43 of the 50 participants had either found high-paying employment or started successful businesses. 8 had increased their income by over 500%. The success rate was so extraordinary that Bob knew he had discovered something that challenged everything society believes about poverty and success. What do you think about these techniques so far? Can you see how they might apply to your own situation? Let me know in the comments and make sure you're subscribed, because what I'm about to share next includes Bob's most controversial and powerful methods. The 3 most controversial techniques. Now I'm going to share with you Bob Proctor's 3 most advanced and controversial techniques. These methods are considered controversial not because they don't work, they work almost too well, but because they challenge conventional thinking about morality, effort, and deservingness. Bob has been hesitant to teach these techniques publicly because they require a high level of personal responsibility and spiritual maturity. Used incorrectly, they can create unintended consequences or attract wealth without the wisdom to handle it properly. Technique 8. Sexual energy transmutation. This technique, inspired by Napoleon Hill's research on successful individuals, involves redirecting sexual energy into creative and financial pursuits. Bob discovered that sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces in human experience, and most people either suppress it or waste it instead of channeling it productively. This doesn't mean celibacy or suppression. It means becoming conscious of sexual energy and deliberately directing it toward your financial goals through focused visualization and action. When sexual energy is properly transmuted, it provides unlimited motivation, creativity, and persistence. Bob teaches that the same energy that creates life can create wealth, but only when it's consciously directed rather than randomly expressed. This technique has been used by some of history's most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators, though few speak about it openly. One of Bob's students, a struggling artist named Marcus, learned to channel his sexual energy into his creative work and business development. Within 1 year, his art sales increased from a few $1,000s annually to over $500,000. Marcus reported feeling more creative, focused, and energetic than ever before. Technique 9. Direct subconscious command. While most people try to influence their subconscious mind through repetition and visualization, Bob developed a method for giving direct commands to the subconscious that bypass conscious resistance entirely. This technique involves entering a specific state of consciousness through controlled breathing and deep relaxation, then speaking directly to your subconscious mind as if it were a separate entity. You give it clear, specific instructions about what you want it to create in your life, along with deadlines and detailed specifications. The key is treating your subconscious mind like a powerful servant that will follow your commands exactly as given, without question or limitation. Most people unknowingly give their subconscious negative commands through worry and fear. Bob's technique consciously programs it for wealth and success. This method is controversial because it works so quickly and dramatically that it can be shocking. Students have reported manifesting specific amounts of money, business opportunities, and financial breakthroughs within days or weeks of using this technique. Technique 10. Conscious materialization. This is Bob's most advanced technique, reserved for students who have mastered the previous 9 methods. Conscious materialization involves understanding that everything in the physical world, including money, exists first as energy and consciousness before it becomes material. Bob teaches that you can literally think money into existence by understanding the energetic principles behind materialization. This isn't about positive thinking or hoping for the best. It's about working with the quantum field of possibilities to collapse specific financial realities into your physical experience. The technique requires understanding yourself as a conscious creator, rather than a victim of circumstances. You learn to work with universal energy the same way an engineer works with electricity, as a natural force that responds predictably to specific principles and applications. Students who master this technique report what can only be described as miraculous financial transformations. Money begins appearing in their lives through channels they never could have imagined, and their relationship with wealth becomes completely effortless. Bob has taught this technique only to his most advanced students because it requires taking complete responsibility for your financial reality. Once you truly understand that you're creating your financial circumstances through consciousness, you can no longer blame external factors for your situation. The Millionaire Legacy. Let me share with you some of the most extraordinary transformation stories from Bob Proctor's 50-year career using all 10 techniques in combination. These aren't just success stories. They're documented cases of people who completely recreated their financial reality using Bob's systematic approach. James Morrison was a homeless veteran with severe PTSD who had been living on the streets for 8 years. When he met Bob in 1995, James had given up hope of ever living normally again. Using all 10 techniques over an 18-month period, James not only overcame his psychological challenges, but built a construction company that now generates over $15 million annually. Today, James employs over 200 people and has become a mentor to other veterans. Linda Rodriguez was a single mother of 4 children, working minimum wage jobs and receiving government assistance. She had never graduated from high school and saw no way out of poverty. Through Bob's program, Linda learned to see herself as an entrepreneur rather than a victim. She started a house cleaning business using the techniques to attract high-end clients. Within 3 years, Linda had built a cleaning empire with over 100 employees and annual revenues exceeding $8 million. Perhaps the most remarkable case is that of Chen Wei, a Chinese immigrant who arrived in America with no money, no English language skills, and no understanding of Western business culture. Chen was working in restaurant kitchens for 12 hours a day, barely earning enough to survive. Using Bob's techniques, Chen began visualizing himself as a successful restaurant owner while continuing to work for others. He learned English by listening to Bob's audio programs, and within 2 years, he had saved enough money to open his own restaurant. Today, Chen owns a chain of 37 restaurants across 3 states and has a net worth exceeding $50 million. What makes these transformations possible isn't luck or special talent. It's the systematic application of all 10 techniques working together as an integrated system. Each technique amplifies the others, creating what Bob calls exponential manifestation. The complete integration system. When all 10 techniques are used together, they create multiple layers of programming that work on conscious, subconscious, and superconscious levels simultaneously. Your thoughts align with wealth, your emotions vibrate at the frequency of abundance, your environment supports prosperity, and your actions become automatically guided toward financial success. Bob teaches that wealth creation isn't about working harder or finding the right opportunity. It's about becoming the type of person who naturally attracts and creates wealth. This transformation happens through the systematic rewiring of your mental and emotional patterns using these 10 precise techniques. The most important aspect of Bob's system is that it creates permanent change rather than temporary results. Students don't just make money once. They develop the consciousness that continues generating wealth throughout their lives. They become wealth magnets rather than people who occasionally get lucky. Bob has trained over 100,000 students worldwide, and more than 1,000 of them have become millionaires. But more importantly, they've become leaders, teachers, and creators who use their wealth to make positive contributions to the world. This is why Bob finally decided to share these techniques more widely. He believes that the current economic challenges facing humanity require individuals who understand how to create wealth from consciousness rather than scarcity. These techniques don't just create personal prosperity. They create the foundation for global abundance. Conclusion. These 10 techniques represent over 60 years of research, testing, and refinement by one of the most successful wealth mentors in history. Bob Proctor didn't just theorize about success. He lived it, taught it, and proved that anyone can transform their financial reality regardless of their starting point. The question now is, which of these 10 techniques resonates most strongly with you? Which one challenges your current beliefs about what's possible? Are you ready to commit to the level of consistency and emotional intensity required to create real transformation? I want to hear about your current financial situation and which technique you're most excited to implement. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't hold back. This community is here to support your success journey. If this video has expanded your understanding of what's possible for your financial future, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We're revealing the most advanced wealth creation secrets from history's greatest mentors. Next week, we're diving into 5 fatal errors that Napoleon Hill discovered studying 500 failures. The mistakes that prevent most people from ever achieving wealth, discovered through Hill's secret research that he never published. These are the hidden barriers that keep 95% of people struggling financially, and once you know what they are, you can avoid them completely. Remember, your current financial situation is not your permanent reality. It's simply the result of your current level of consciousness. Change your consciousness using these 10 techniques, and your financial reality must change to match. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week when we explore the hidden barriers to wealth that most people never recognize until it's too late.